Case 1. Barnetta Anderson versus Antoinette Coleman, physical altercation. After family dispute, what started as a heated family argument over the phone spiraled months later into a shocking street fight outside a packed theater, leaving one woman unconscious, injured, and in Judge Judy's courtroom seeking justice. The case involves Barnetta Anderson, plaintiff, and Antoinette Coleman, defendant. Their conflict began in June, when Barnetta became involved in a heated family dispute between Antoinette and her relatives. Afterward, Barnetta received hostile and threatening messages. She eventually warned she would call the police, and the messages stopped. Months later in November, they crossed paths at the Orpheum Theater after a comedy show, which led to a violent physical altercation. Plaintiff's story. Barnetta. Barnetta claims she was unexpectedly attacked by Antoinette outside the theater. She says she was blindsided, fell unconscious, and woke up with Antoinette straddling her and hitting her. Andrea, Antoinette's sister, our witness, allegedly encouraged the fight, shouting, "Let them fight!" Barnetta says Antoinette also bit her hand, and only after a man from the crowd intervened was Antoinette pulled off. Barnetta immediately called the police and provided a statement. She presented video evidence, photos of injuries, medical records, and scars. She testified she has a serious medical condition, Chiari malformation, and even underwent 2 brain surgeries after the incident, arguing she would never risk initiating a fight given her health. Defendant's story, Antoinette. Antoinette claims Barnetta followed her out of the theater and pushed her first. She argues the fight was mutual, not an ambush. She insists Barnetta did not black out, but simply fell back. Antoinette says that's why Barnetta had scrapes, because she fell on her during the scuffle. Antoinette presented it as a back-and-forth confrontation, rather than a one-sided attack. Protective orders and evidence. Barnetta filed for a protective order after the fight. The court granted it. Antoinette also filed one, but after a hearing, hers was dismissed. This showed that another court had already found Barnetta's complaint credible. Additionally, Barnetta played a voicemail allegedly from Andrea Coleman, Antoinette's sister, recorded right after the fight. The voicemail mocked Barnetta, saying she got what she deserved and used vulgar language. Judge Judy's analysis. Judge Judy focused on the fact that a court of competent jurisdiction had already reviewed the altercation. That court granted Barnetta's protective order but denied Antoinette's. The video evidence supported Barnetta's account of being attacked and immobilized. Barnetta also showed medical documentation proving she suffered lasting injuries. Judge Judy dismissed Antoinette's mutual fight defense, siding with the plaintiff. Outcome judgment for the plaintiff, Barnetta Anderson, $5,000 in damages. In short, this case wasn't just a simple fight. Judge Judy treated it as an unprovoked assault case, backed by protective order rulings, injury evidence, and recordings that showed Barnetta was the victim. Case 2. Berg family vs. Schultz family, the dog bite. Incident. A child's bike ride turned into a nightmare when a loose black dog charged at him, leaving puncture wounds and terrified cries. What followed wasn't just about medical bills, it was about whether pet owners can dodge responsibility when their animals cause harm. This case involves the Berg family, whose 7-year-old son Noah was allegedly bitten by a black dog belonging to the Schultz family. Noah testified that while riding his bike to show his sister Ava a bump in the road, a black dog ran toward him and bit his leg. He slowed down, stopped by a mailbox, and a friend came out to give him a Band-Aid. Ava confirmed that Noah was crying, pulled up his pant leg, and showed her what looked like a dog bite. She saw a mark but said it wasn't bleeding. Both children identified the dog as black. The defendants, Tanner and Mrs. Schultz, admitted their 2 dogs had gotten loose on April 10th while Tanner was putting his own child in the car. The dogs weren't leashed, and Tanner explained they usually just bark at kids and cars without causing problems. However, on this day, Noah claimed one of them bit him. The timeline became an issue. Tanner said he left his wife's grandmother's house around 3 p.m., while Noah's mother testified her son came home crying about the bite around 5:30 p.m. The caretaker at the grandmother's house later told the family that Tanner had just been there with the dogs, suggesting the Schultzes may have left later than they claimed. Noah's parents provided photos of the wound and medical bills totaling $987. The photos showed one main puncture mark with 3 smaller ones around it. which Judge Judy interpreted as consistent with 4 puncture wounds from a dog's teeth. The Schultzes argued it didn't look like a dog bite, insisting their pet didn't cause it. Judge Judy became frustrated with their refusal to take responsibility, especially since they admitted the dogs had gotten out of their control. In her ruling, Judge Judy said that if the Schultzes had simply acknowledged fault and agreed to cover medical expenses, it would have been viewed as an accident. Instead, their excuses made the situation worse. She awarded the Berg family $2,000, covering medical costs plus additional damages for pain and suffering. Final judgment: $2,000 awarded to the Berg family. Judge Judy emphasized that pet owners must always take responsibility when their animals harm others. Case 1. Dye versus Dickerson. When love turns into loans, our first case takes us into the complicated world of money and relationships. Janet Dye came to court claiming her ex-boyfriend, Jimmy Dickerson, owed her thousands of dollars in unpaid loans. According to Janet, she gave him money for probation fees, to repair cars, to buy new clothes for a job interview, and even for a cell phone deposit. Each time, she believed it was a loan. Each time, Jimmy promised to pay her back. But when it was Jimmy's turn to speak, his story was very different. He admitted Janet gave him money but said it wasn't about loans. Instead, he claimed she gave him money because she wanted to keep him around, to control him, and to make sure he stayed with her. In his eyes, they weren't loans at all, just gifts. Judge Judy listened carefully but wasn't impressed with either side. She pointed out that Jimmy was clearly using Janet, taking money without ever intending to pay it back. But at the same time, Judy scolded Janet for repeatedly handing over money without written agreements or proof. To Judge Judy, it looked less like a business deal and more like someone desperately trying to buy love. In the end, Judy dismissed most of Janet's claims. Jimmy's counterclaim, that Janet harassed him, was also thrown out. The lesson? In Judy's courtroom, if you're lending money to a partner, you'd better have proof. Otherwise, it looks like a gift. Case 2. Kirkland versus Polson. A mother's lesson in responsibility. The second case is a battle between mother and daughter. Linda Kirkland sued her 19-year-old daughter, Laura Polson, for unpaid car debt. Linda had co-signed and paid for Laura's Honda, and after the car was totaled, Linda was left with more than $5,000 in debt. Linda explained that she was trying to help her daughter get on her feet, but instead she got stuck paying everything. Laura, on the other hand, insisted her mother told her she didn't have to pay until she was financially stable. She pointed to her divorce, her unstable work history, and other debts as reasons she hadn't kept up with payments. But Judge Judy wasn't having it. She tore into Laura for her irresponsibility. Judy pointed out that Laura had boyfriends, spent money elsewhere, and racked up tickets, but still expected her mother to shoulder the debt. The fact that the car was wrecked only made the situation worse. Judy made it clear, when you take on a financial responsibility, excuses don't matter. Divorce or no divorce, unstable work or not, you're still responsible for the debt you create. In the end, Judge Judy ruled in favor of Linda, awarding her the maximum $5,000 the court allows. A tough lesson for a young adult who thought her mother would always clean up the mess. Case 3. Rodriguez versus Taylor. The lemon car dispute. Next up, we have a case about a used car sale gone wrong. Fernando Rodriguez sold Tracy Taylor a 1979 Chevy Malibu for $2,000. Tracy made a $600 down payment, with the rest to be paid later. But almost immediately after taking the car, she noticed problems. The blinkers didn't work. The upholstery was tacked together. The roof sagged. It looked like a car being held together by tape and hope. So, within a day, Tracy returned the car and called Fernando, asking for her $600 back. According to her, he agreed to return the money, but then, he changed his mind. Rodriguez came to court demanding the full $2,000 plus damages. He accused Tracy of breaching the deal. But Judge Judy wasn't buying it. She called him a slick character, pointing out that he couldn't keep both the car and her. $600. Judy also scolded Tracy for being naive enough to pay $2,000 for a 25-year-old car without checking it properly first. Still, the key fact was simple. Tracy returned the car right away, and Fernando promised to return her money. A promise is a promise. In the end, Judy dismissed Fernando's claim and ordered him to return Tracy's $600 deposit. Case 4. McCormick versus Havens. The ex-con boyfriend. Our fourth case is another messy relationship drama. Sherry McCormick sued her ex-boyfriend, Jason Havens, for a series of loans. She explained that Jason had just gotten out of prison for burglary and robbery, and soon after, he moved in with her. She gave him money to pay gambling debts, to support his daughter, and for daily expenses. In her mind, these were loans. Jason admitted she gave him money, but he argued they weren't loans at all. They were gifts. According to him, Sherry was supporting him out of affection, not business. Judge Judy's reaction was sharp. She criticized Sherry for letting an ex-con move in so quickly, especially with her daughter in the house. Judy reminded her that bringing chaos into her home was her choice. But beyond the scolding, Judy had to decide, were these real loans or simply money handed over to keep the relationship afloat? Case 5, McCormick v. Havens, continued. Gifts or loans? As the testimony continued, it became clear that much of the money Sherry gave Jason came in small amounts, $10 here, $20 there. Judge Judy was not convinced those could ever be treated as loans. In her view, those kinds of handouts looked more like gifts, especially in the context of a romantic relationship. But there was one larger payment that stood out, $250 to pay off Jason's gambling debts. Judy zeroed in on this amount. A specific payment for a specific purpose, backed by Jason's promise to repay, looked more like a legitimate loan. Judge Judy's likely ruling was to award Sherry the $250, but dismiss the rest as gifts. Once again, Judy delivered a tough message. If you're handing out money in a relationship without paperwork, don't expect to get it back. Case 1. Stephanie Monroe versus Michael Monroe. The missing camera. Our first case involves Stephanie Monroe and her ex-husband, Michael Monroe. Stephanie runs a small marketing business and hired her ex-husband, Michael, hoping he could not only earn money but also keep up with his child support. As part of the job, Michael received a promotional kit. This included logo t-shirts and a digital camera valued at around $485. When Michael left the company, he failed to return the camera. Instead, he claimed it had been stolen from his home. But here's the problem. He never filed a police report. He had no proof of the theft. And the company held Stephanie responsible, deducting the cost from her paycheck. Judge Judy wasn't buying Michael's excuse. She grilled him on the missing camera, pointing out that it was his responsibility to return company property or compensate for it. After some deliberation, Judge Judy awarded Stephanie $200, less than the claimed $485, but enough to recognize that Michael was accountable. A small but powerful lesson: when you borrow or are entrusted with property, excuses won't hold up in court. Case 2. Kirk G. Ford versus Catherine Ward, the DUI loan. The second case takes us into a family dispute between a father, Kirk G. Ford, and his daughter, Catherine Ward. Catherine had a history of DUI charges and owed significant fines. To help her avoid jail and get her license reinstated, Kirk stepped in and paid nearly $2,500 on her behalf. But there was a clear agreement. Catherine was supposed to pay him back monthly. Did she? No. For 3 years, she ignored her obligation. Only once, in March 2004, did she hand over $148 from a paycheck, far short of the total she owed. When Judge Judy asked why she could plan monthly payments for the court, but not for her father, Catherine stumbled. She insisted her father had once told her, "Don't worry about it," but Judge Judy wasn't convinced. Judy cut through the noise. It was your fine, not your father's. If you could pay the court, you could have paid him. This was a turning point. Catherine finally admitted responsibility. Judge Judy praised her for starting to grow up, but made it clear Catherine must repay her father. Case 3. Custody and family trauma. This case wasn't only about money. It revealed the emotional fallout from Catherine's past struggles. Kirk explained that his grandson had been through trauma because of Catherine's years of instability. He believed the children needed psychiatric counseling to recover. Catherine pushed back, insisting her drug abuse wasn't years, but rather a 6-month period when she was pregnant and in rehab. Judge Judy listened carefully, but it was clear. Whatever the timeline, the children had been affected. Addiction leaves scars, and the court recognized the seriousness of the family's pain. At the time of the hearing, Catherine's son lived full-time with his father, while she only had limited visitation. Kirk had even stepped in at one point to supervise her visits. Judge Judy's role here was to keep the focus. While family drama is messy, Catherine's financial responsibility to her father remained the priority. Still, This discussion showed the bigger picture. Behind unpaid loans, there are often deeper struggles with trust, parenting, and healing. Case 4. Moving forward. Responsibility and redemption. By the final part of this long case, we see Catherine trying to turn her life around. She told Judge Judy she was now working full-time at Home Depot. Her boyfriend was a construction worker, and together they were financially stable. Judge Judy asked the obvious question, "So, if you have a steady job and income now, why haven't you started repaying your father?" Catherine admitted she should have. She tried to explain that her father told her to start fresh and get her life together. But Judge Judy wasn't letting her dodge accountability. Helping someone start fresh doesn't erase debt. Catherine agreed. It was time to act like an adult and pay back what she owed. Themes across all cases. Accountability. From the missing. Camera to unpaid fines, Judge Judy reinforced the same lesson. Responsibility cannot be avoided. Family bonds versus money. These cases show how money disputes are rarely just about money. They uncover broken trust, strained relationships, and deeper emotional wounds. Addiction and recovery. Catherine's struggles with drugs and alcohol caused ripples that affected not just her, but her children and her father. Judge Judy balanced empathy with firm insistence on responsibility. Judge Judy's style: sharp, direct, and cutting through excuses. Whether it's an ex-husband's excuse for a missing camera or a daughter's justifications for unpaid loans, Judy always brings the focus back to the core truth. You owe, you pay. Case 1. Dickamar versus Smith. Background: Kirk Smith, a 21-year-old, was sued by his stepfather, Mr. Dickamar. The issue was about a car and repayment of money. Kirk had been living with and relying on his stepfather, using his car, but failed to pay back money for repairs and expenses. Plaintiff's side, stepfather, claimed Kirk promised to contribute money but never followed through. Said this wasn't the first time Kirk had a pattern of not taking responsibility. Defendant's side, stepson, Kirk tried to minimize it, acting casual. Suggested maybe it wasn't a real debt. Judge Judy's role. She questioned Kirk sharply, noting his casual, evasive answers. Judy often despises when young adults use family members' generosity, but don't show gratitude. She reminded him, a promise to pay back money is still enforceable, even with family. Ruling: judgment for the stepfather. Judy ordered Kirk to pay. Lesson: family help doesn't erase financial responsibility. Case 2. Deborah versus Pamela. Background: two friends clashed after a financial arrangement soured. Deborah said she loaned Pamela money. Pamela said it was just friendship help. Plaintiff's side, Deborah, said she gave Pamela money directly with the expectation of repayment. Felt betrayed when Pamela later dismissed it as a gift. Defendant's side, Pamela, claimed Deborah was overreacting, and the money was friendly support. Suggested there was no formal contract. Judge Judy's role: she drilled both. Was there a conversation about repayment? Did she promise you she would give it back? When Deborah insisted yes, Judy said that's legally a loan, not a gift. Ruling: Judy sided with Deborah. Ordered repayment. Lesson: friends who borrow money should clarify terms. Otherwise, friendship ends in court. Case 3. Amy Jimenez versus Ronnie Brooks. Background: Amy sued her ex-boyfriend Ronnie after a violent breakup incident. Plaintiff's side, Amy, said Ronnie shoved her, kicked her car hood inside, and threw her phone. Filed a police report but delayed for a month, saying she was scared. Defendant's side, Ronnie, admitted throwing the phone and kicking the car but said it was self-defense. Claimed Amy was drunk, tried to run him over with her car. Said she often drove drunk with him in the car. Witness, Derek, supported Ronnie partially, confirmed Amy was drunk, aggressive. Did not see Ronnie hit her directly. Judge Judy's role: Judy carefully sorted the property damage from the assault claim. Said Ronnie was definitely responsible for the car and phone damage. Rejected the self-defense excuse. Gave a stern lecture. If you kill someone while driving drunk, it is not an accident. It is a crime. Ruling: awarded Amy $480, $400 for car, $80 for phone. No award for personal injury. Case 4. April Fernandez versus Sheba Holt. Background: April, only 18 with a baby, Gave Sheba, her boyfriend's sister, $300 toward moving into an apartment together. Then she changed her mind and asked for the money back. Plaintiff's side, April, said she never moved in, so she wanted her deposit back. Defendant's side, Sheba, admitted to receiving the $300, but claimed April owed her, pointing to a $400 phone bill from April's boyfriend's jail calls. Returned only $70, kept $230. Judge Judy's role, Judy asked, did you tell her that her money was non-refundable? Did she agree to apply it to a phone bill? When Sheba admitted no, Judy said legally, Sheba had no right to keep it. But Judy added, morally, you are right. She lived rent-free and brought problems. Legally, you are wrong. Ruling. Sheba ordered to pay April $230. Judy gave Sheba advice. Move out of her mother's house because her brother, April's boyfriend, will always be welcomed back. Dragging April with him. Case 5. Nina Campbell vs. Orlando Nguera. Background. Nina sued Orlando, her ex-boyfriend, for unpaid rent. After breakup, Orlando forced her out, promised his uncle would take her place, but then didn't pay rent. Plaintiff's side, Nina, said Orlando left her responsible to the landlord unfairly, claimed she only left because he demanded she go. Defendant's side, Orlando, tried to excuse himself, work slowed, couldn't pay, insisted he didn't mean harm, tried to charm Judy. Judge Judy's role, Judy saw through him immediately. Called him glib, immoral, irresponsible, said he forced Nina out and then stiffed both her and the landlord. Ruling. Judgment for Nina. Orlando responsible for unpaid rent. Case 6. Small loan, personal dispute, Part 4, early. Background. Plaintiff lent money to a friend, roommate. Defendant denied obligation. Judge Judy's role, asked direct questions. Did you borrow? Did you agree to repay? When inconsistencies showed, Judy decided it was a loan. Ruling, defendant ordered to repay. Fast-tracked case, resolved in minutes.